I came across another challenge for atheists. Basically, a bunch of questions with a challenge not to contradict ourselves. The creator of this video did not seem to use any voiceover, just pasting text over and over again. So if you want to know what the questions are, you're going to have to watch, and not just have it run in a background window. Sadly, this means you're going to have to look at this ugly thing as well. You're talking about abiogenesis. There are several theories out there. The best is that self-replicating molecules in the infamous primordial ooze. Recently, researchers have been able to recreate RNA in a lab setting. RNA is a simple precursor to DNA. Now, I will note this does not prove how life originated, but gives us an idea of how it could have formed, and is giving us our best guide so far. Mostly because people have assumed that the world had to come about somehow. And since people build things, it must have been a people-like being that built the world. But, in the same way people assumed that the sun went around the earth, just because it was a widely accepted belief does not make it true. None? Atheism is a religious stance, not a political or ideological one. Or an architectural one, if that's what you meant by government structures. All it is saying is there is no God. We could not state, we set up rules of this government based on nothing, in the same way as we set up rules of this government based on the Bible. The closest we come to an atheist government structure like that would be the secular government, which is neutral on the existence of God, neither confirming nor denying it. I live by my own standards. Because I live in a society, I expect people to treat me by the same standards I treat them. Therefore, I treat people how I want to be treated. It also means that I want to be protected from harm and wish others the same protection. That is really what most people do, because they understand the social contract. If a member of the public wants to have a religious conviction, they should be allowed, just like how I want to have the right not to have to believe in any religion. Personal freedom of belief is extremely important, so neither claiming to follow God nor claiming that there is no God should be the governing body's prerogative. However, religious freedom should be tolerated up until the point it affects someone else's freedom. Forcing someone to believe, not allowing different believers the same rights, or barring people who believe differently from you from places of business should not be allowed. We don't know. Honestly, much smarter people than me are working on that, and we can extrapolate back to the first few picoseconds of the Big Bang, but still don't know how it began. But currently, there is no evidence to point to an intelligent creator being who started the whole thing. I'm a bit confused. How would that work? Does it mean if I choose a religion, it would become the actual history of the universe? Or am I being held with a metaphorical gun to my head saying choose now? If it's the former, then that flying spaghetti monster one sounds good, especially with the stir factory and beer volcano. I mean, I don't really drink beer, don't care for the taste, but I assume in paradise it would taste really good. If it was the latter, then I would claim belief in anything, just for safety's sake. Probably whatever the person threatening me was a believer in, I would pay lip service to that. It couldn't change my actual beliefs though, I would just keep them to myself. If my life was on the line, as Heinlein put it, whenever the locals rub blue mud in their navels, I rub blue mud in mine just as solemnly. Alright, a bit of a backstory here. Irreducible complexity is a concept which states that some biological functions could not come about by random chance, therefore they must have been designed. Eyes and wings are the most popular. It says, either a feature works or it doesn't. The what use is half an eye argument. However, we have shown that half an eye, or even a light-sensitive patch of skin, can in some cases be better than none at all. And a gradual change and refinement of functions can create something, after many generations, with what appears to be irreducibly complex. The fact that we've worked out the build-up for such so-called impossible features tells us that irreducible complexity means we just don't know how it formed yet. You were talking about how life began. That's not natural selection, that's abiogenesis. See question 1 that you asked. Evolution and natural selection do not have anything to do with how life began. You don't need to know how oxygen and hydrogen first combined into water to know how plumbing works. Once self-replicating molecules formed, then, and only then, did natural selection start up. Because we are constantly updating and refining our understanding of the world we live in, and changing our views to match the latest information. Centuries ago, my ancestors believed that the color of one's skin meant that person was inferior. We were wrong, and changed our morals to reflect that. Decades ago, we thought people who loved the same gender were evil. We learned we were wrong there, and changed our morals to reflect that as well. Our morals change to reflect the world we live in. I like to think we are getting better and better as time goes by. To turn it around a bit, religious morals also seem to change with the time. For example, it is no longer accepted to force a woman to marry her rapist. We know that's wrong now, but if religious beliefs were so perfect and immutable in the first place, why would they need to change? I don't. If you want to believe, you can believe anything you want, up until they affect others. If your beliefs go against the observed universe, that is your issue to deal with. My main focus is on Christianity, because it is the one that is dominant in my society. It is the one that I was subjected to as I was growing up, and the one that people seem to want to use to shape the society I live in, even those who don't want to follow it. It's really a common misconception. We did not evolve from apes. We are apes. Our closest ancestor is the chimpanzee, and the reason there is no middle gap is because we did not evolve from them, but rather we share a common ancestor. First off, why would this matter? I could create a fictional character who always said and did the right thing, but that doesn't mean he would exist. But I digress. You wanted some examples, here are a few. He said that his followers would have to hate their own families. If anyone comes to me, and hate not his father, and mother, and wife, and children, and brethren, and sisters, yea, and his own life also, he cannot be my disciple. He was against peace. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. People would be rewarded for abandoning their families, and every one that hath forsaken houses, or brethren, or sisters, or father, or mother, or wife, or children, or lands, for in my name's sake, shall receive 100-fold, and shall inherit everlasting life. A bit more general. His message pretty much said that whatever you did wrong would be okay, just ask to be forgiven and all will be well. It removes all responsibility from a criminal. It leads to, I can rape, murder, and arson as much as I want, and I will get everlasting rewards anyway, if I just ask to be forgiven. He also said kill trees that don't have any fruit on them because they're out of season, but that's more petty than anything else. And out of curiosity, why 3? Why did you need exactly that many examples? Yes, I do think it would be better if there's no belief in God and people were rational, but I wouldn't force them not to believe. Society determines rules and standards for our behavior, and with no supreme authority to turn to, it will be up to us to make this the best world possible, not relying on God, which I don't think is there, to make it such. Again with the arbitrary number of examples. Okay, well I'm not American, but I'm trying to answer everything. And remember that not all persecution is by the government. People can persecute others by their actions. 7 states have laws that prohibit atheists from holding public office. Half of Americans would not vote for an atheist, despite other qualifications. Only 1/3 of Americans would allow an atheist to work in a daycare center. Additionally, there is no way for atheists to get the tax breaks that religious centers qualify for. Finally, there are numerous anti-atheist billboards up proclaiming how evil we atheists are. Again, I'm not American. I like to think that your laws are just and appropriate. Your constitution is a marvel and changed the world. That said, look at the percentage of the population in prison as of October 2013. It was 716 people out of 100,000, making it the highest percentage in the world. Perhaps your laws are too harsh. Science uses a lot of extrapolation. We don't know everything and admit that, but we use what evidence we do have to give the best guess for what we don't. We know that species evolve over time, and we know that not every animal becomes a fossil. We can extrapolate what we know to say that these two species are related, but we've not found any link yet. This can be supported through other evidence, like DNA. We know the Big Bang, or what really should be called the Big Expansion, occurred, as noted before. We've worked out in general terms what happened in the first few moments of the universe, but we are still searching for what caused it, and I have covered abiogenesis earlier in this video. These things are taught because they're our best explanation for the evidence we have. If new evidence is found that contradicts them, we'd have to revise our theories. Well, the creation of the universe would be greater than that. In fact, if the story of Jesus was true, it would show that the creator of the universe is not as powerful as most theologians claim he is. Since it would seem he had to jump through a lot of hoops to have his son born and die in order to forgive us, instead of, just forgiving us. It shows he has limited powers. Eggs. Eggs were around much longer than chickens, or even birds. You mean that I would be this all-powerful creator that you claim God to be? Well, let's see. A few things that I would do would be, I would make sure that people understood the history of the world in no uncertain terms that could be understood by everyone, with proof to back it up. I would make it so the creations they made did not slowly break down, losing their mental and physical facilities and succumbing to old age in the most painful way possible. I would be reachable by the common person, and if there were issues with the world, I would be held accountable for my actions, and would be able to explain my actions if they were unpopular. It is not naive if we simply don't have any evidence to confirm this afterlife. And if I was simply afraid of being accountable for my actions to God after death, meaning that I did believe in him, I wouldn't deny that there was a God. I would simply turn to Jesus because no matter how hideous my crimes were, apparently I would be forgiven instantly. But since I don't believe in any God, I have to hold myself accountable for my own actions. Humans have value to other humans. Because as social animals, we depend on each other for our survival. It has been bred into us, through generations of tribal cooperations, that we should value other humans that we depend upon. In the past, those who didn't value the humans around them were unable to survive. The humans who did work together were able to prosper, so that has been bred into us over many generations. Yes, most humans do have the ability to feel these emotions. These feelings, love, affection, and empathy, are bonds to other humans. The more important that we hold others in our life, the stronger that bond is. As I said in the last question, the fact that humans who bond well with others have a better chance to pass on their genes means that the capacity for love has been naturally bred into us. Surprisingly, if you don't factor churches as charities, it turns out the percentage atheists contribute to charity is more than theists. But in any case, which would you consider to be the better person? One who gives to charity because they believe the supreme being who's in charge of choosing their afterlife said so, or one who gives knowing they will not receive anything out of it? I would have to go with the more selfless one, who gives without any expectation of reward. For evidence, I would need something that is observable, predictable, and falsifiable. And yes, I try to hold those standards to my current beliefs. For instance, evolution is observable, the Lenski experiments, and the gradual change in fossils over time. Predictable, you'll find certain fossils in certain rock layers. If you change the environment a species is in, that species will change to adapt to the new environment. And falsifiable, the famous rabbits in the Precambrian argument. Unfortunately, none of those three apply to God. So there we go, my responses to the atheist challenge. Next time, Atheist Challenge 2, Electric Boogaloo. What? Fine. Next time, Atheist Challenge 2. You guys won't let me have any fun.
Some like it hot and some sweat when the heat is on. Some feel the heat and decide that they can't go on.